Welcome to the Think Before You Post podcast, where we talk about all things digital citizenship and anything else that we find fun and entertaining on the internet. I'm Christina Jontra. You are
Paula Evans.
And you are
and Therese Brandt.
And we have a topic to discuss today. Thank you. So, ChatGPT. That's what we're going to discuss. And we spent our entire morning playing with ChatGPT. So we are now considering ourselves to be authorities. No, not really. But let's start here. When I say artificial intelligence, Paula,
I think of robots.
You think of robots.
I do, every time.
And Therese, what do you think of?
I thought of Siri immediately, but
Siri, because Siri and Alexa are in that realm of artificial intelligence. You know what I think of?
What do you think of?
Fake smart. I don't know why.
Oh, that actually makes sense, though, kind of.
Yeah. And I think my fake smart, as we discuss this, as we continue to discuss this, will become a good definition.
Okay.
But ChatGPT, just so we are clear on what it is, and I have to keep looking at my notes because for some reason, what ChatGPT stands for, I can't
remember it.
I can't remember. So ChatGPT stands for Chat Generative Pre-trained Transformer. That sounds like a robot.
It does. It does. Thank you very much.
Okay. So
Transformers, like when you're kids.
Yeah.
exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
So here's the interesting. So what makes it different, I think, from Siri and Alexa is it is called a natural language processing model.
Okay.
Which sounds very fascinating, but it's all the rage, and it's all the rage in a scary way for educators all across America. But it was only introduced in November of 2022. It is only...
It's blowing up.
But it's only like 3 months old. It can barely hold its head up.
It's a baby. It's an infant.
It's an infant. And it's still being developed. That is a key. So we looked into what is it, and I asked ChatGPT this morning what it is and to describe itself on a fourth grade level. And I thought I saved it for us. It is. ChatGPT gives personalized answers based on what you've already talked about. So if you ask a question, it might remember something you said earlier. So it remembers all of your interactions, and it can help you with your homework. It can tell you jokes, and it can write computer programs.
I would never use it for a computer program, but other people would.
Well,
maybe.
Do you often find yourself writing computer programs?
Never.
No. What about ChatGPT is scaring teachers?
Cheating.
That was so nice.
We agree on it.
Yep.
So flesh that out for me. How are students going to use ChatGPT for cheating?
They're going to put the prompt, say it's a writing prompt, say it's a junior high or high school student, and they're going to put the writing prompt in the search bar of ChatGPT, and it will spit out an essay, a paragraph, whatever answers the prompt, and they can use that as their own, and they've done no work.
And that has caused fear in all.
Hysteria.
And as I've talked to teacher friends and they've been in hysterics over it, this is what I try to remind them of. I wasn't teaching when calculators were made into small sizes where you could bring, personalized size. Because, when calculators were first introduced, they were huge. Computers. And then they became things that you could put in your pocket thanks to Texas Instruments, I guess. And so I assume when calculators came on the scene, when students would be able to bring their calculators to school with them, that math teachers all over the world went,
I think so.
oh no, clutching their pearls. And yet, all these years later, we're still teaching math. And now we have these cell phones. My cell phone has a calculator.
Yeah.
But we're still teaching math. And so I think, or what do y'all, I mean, is that a similar?
I think that's a good
Absolutely.
comparison.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's fair. Is that, I mean, we still have to teach English. We still have to teach writing. We still have to teach research. We still have to teach how to find quality resources. We still have to do all that. Just because this has come up doesn't mean
But maybe it's even more important
more
now.
important now.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And maybe it's going to require teachers to change the way they teach writing, the way they, maybe it now more than ever, it requires them to ask questions that aren't straight Googleable.
Right.
You know? So the other fear that I've read, or the other threat that I've read, is that ChatGPT will be the killer of Google. So we asked it a question. Let's see if I have the answer. We asked ChatGPT how it differs from Google, its opinion. Now, let's be clear, just a little background. ChatGPT, the way it works is, as it describes itself, you can have a conversation with it.
Which we did.
We did, which meant we ask it a question, and then we ask it a follow-up question. We just kept trying to go deeper and deeper with our questions, okay? Having conversations with a computer, hold that thought. We'll come back to it. But we did ask ChatGPT to explain how it is different from Google. And didn't we ask it to do it on a fourth grade level?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so here is its explanation. First of all, it said, that's a great question. So remember, it's a natural language processor. So it wants to sound like it's human. That's scary. So its answer was, that's a great question. When you search for something on Google, you get a list of websites that might have the answer you're looking for. You have to read through them and decide which one has the best information. But when you ask ChatGPT a question, it uses a special kind of technology called natural language processing to understand exactly what you're asking and give you a direct answer. It's like having a smart friend who can help you right away without having to search through lots of different websites. Now, just reading that, I could tell you had something to say about it.
Yes.
So
I do, because and we talked about this morning, but prior to coming in here, I was researching some things for a next project that we're doing, and I actually Googled something and got one answer, and I put the same question in ChatGPT and got a different answer. So after further research, I realized Google was correct and ChatGPT was not. It wasn't off by much, but if I were using statistics, that would be an important thing.
Right.
because
Which is what we said before, is that ChatGPT is scouring. It's scouring the internet. It's scouring these resources, but you never know if the resources that it's pulling from are accurate or reliable.
And if we read somewhere that ChatGPT, the data that it has in it right now, stopped at 2021. So if you're looking for new information, that's not where you want to go. The newest, most accurate information.
recent.
The other thing that gets me is we ask it about certain Supreme Court cases, and it spit out the court case, the year, and what the ruling was. Now, I have no background in Supreme Court or any of its cases beyond maybe Plessy versus Ferguson or Brown versus Board of Education. those two cases from high school. I kind of remember. So ChatGPT gave me a whole bunch of information about 3 Supreme Court cases. And if I were answering a question from a teacher, I could just copy all of that and give it as my answer. But what bothered me was, I don't know where it doesn't cite its own sources.
Right.
It doesn't cite its sources. I found that problematic.
Quite.
So what it requires of me, the user, is to do more work to go verify what it has told me. How many students that we have taught in our careers are going to take that extra step?
Very few.
Very few.
Okay, we've been really negative. And Kinsey doesn't like it when we are
No.
completely
She likes
100%
positivity.
negative. And so we have a good thing for her. That is, I became infatuated with ChatGPT because of a teacher that showed up on my TikTok For You page. And I had to do some research to find out what her actual name was. Her name's Kelly Gibson. She's a high school AP English teacher in Oregon. That's as much of the stalking that I've done. But on TikTok, she's at Gibson is here. And she is amazing.
She is.
She's our new favorite. And we'll put a link.
I want to be in her class.
I know. I would
do it.
junior AP English just to have her.
would too.
Yeah.
So Miss Gibson is not afraid of ChatGPT. So she has a series of TikTok videos explaining how she's used it. And they are amazing. Go ahead.
Well, she's teaching her students. She's teaching her students how to take a tool that she knows they're going to use anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
And use it in a positive, creative way that will actually benefit them.
So tell us one way she used it.
Well, like one, I'm taking the middle school one. Is that okay? Because
Yeah.
because I taught middle school. But so one way is like to take I forgot what the book was or whatever, but let's say
The Giver.
Okay, The Giver by Lewis Lowry, okay? And you take that and you ask it to summarize chapters 1 and 2, and it does that for you. So you can then give that to students who missed your class that day if you were doing reading in class. But here's what I loved about that whole thing. Beyond that, she took that paragraph and she took out all the commas. You could take out all the punctuation. You could take out periods. You could take out capital letters. Have the students punctuate that paragraph.
Okay. Can I back up just
may.
so I can explain how that actually
okay.
works?
Yeah.
So if, remember, ChatGPT is a conversation.
Yes.
So if she enters in a chapter of The Giver and says, summarize this on a 6th grade level,
Yes.
and it does that. And then you can say, okay, but now take that summary and remove
Right.
all the punctuation. And now you have that to hand out to your students. And it's not just here's the summary, but now they
Right.
can do punctuation practice.
Right. Oh, I've got another one. I just,
Yes.
okay. So that
Tell us one more.
Okay, one more. So the ESL, and I
That's
love
the one I
this.
love that
okay,
one.
do you want to tell this one then?
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
So let's say that you're an ESL teacher, or you don't even have to be an ESL teacher anymore. You're teaching 8th grade students, and you've got a student in your class who's actually reading on a 6th or 5th grade level,
Exactly.
or even lower. Then you can take that passage that they're reading and ask it to put it in a 4th grade level.
Yeah.
And it will do that for that student. So the student is getting the same material, but in a way that they can read it and understand it.
So you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
There you go.
Well, and one of the ways I liked how she used it in for her AP English class was she was going to assign a paper to them. And so she put into ChatGPT exactly the instructions that she gave her students. And she had ChatGPT write the paper.
Yeah.
But she asked for evidence. And this is one of the things that the warning about ChatGPT is sometimes it gives you information that's just flat out wrong.
Yeah.
And so she took the paper that ChatGPT wrote and she graded it with the rubric she would be grading her students' papers on. And she took out the weak areas of the paper, like where it gave an example that from the text that was completely made up and false. She just took that out. And then she handed that out to all her students and said, here's the essay it wrote. It was not a great essay. Make it better.
Yeah.
And so they learn editing. They learn. And for the student who, this was me always. When my English teacher would give me a writing assignment, I would just stare at it, and I just needed somebody to give me the first sentence. Just get me started. Where do I start? And that's what this did for her students. You saw one, elementary.
Elementary one.
Remember the elementary one?
Yes. Wait, hold on. I looked at a whole bunch of elementary ones
The
because I'm an elementary
CVC.
teacher. Oh, yes. Took the CVC.
What's a CVC? Because even Miss Gibson had to Google that.
know.
I did too.
Consonant, vowel, consonant words like cat, dog, such and such. So anyway, she took those and she took 4 or 5 CVC words and asked ChatGPT to put those into a paragraph and gave a subject of the paragraph.
Like it wanted include a fire engine. Remember?
Firefighters or something.
Dinosaurs and fire engines.
Yes.
Whatever the kid's interested in.
Whatever the kids were interested in, and create a paragraph out of that and put that in there. And that was super, super cute. And yeah, just, I mean, really, really creative ways to use it to help their students.
And to help the teacher. I mean, because could you imagine you have 25 kids in your class and each one of them has different interests. When have you ever been able to give each one of them their own little story to read that's high interest for them specifically? It's incredible. So we are big fans of Gibson is here on TikTok, and we'll put in the show notes links to a lot of her ideas, but you can spend a lot of time there.
If you're a teacher, you should go follow her.
You should absolutely go follow her.
Let me just add this on a personal note. I did reach out to her. I sent her a message on TikTok, and she will join the long list of people that Christina has reached out to who have not responded.
Never give up.
But here's the funny thing. I reached out to her and asked her maybe to be on our podcast, which she never responded to. But after I asked her to do that, NBC Nightly News also reached out to her and flew to Oregon and did a whole story on how she was using ChatGPT in her classroom. So I can understand why maybe we didn't make the cut. Okay. While Gibson is here on TikTok, is giving us great ideas on how we can use ChatGPT in education. There is a scary side to it. Remember, at the beginning we said it can have a conversation. Well, Microsoft apparently is putting a lot of money into AI. And so they're incorporating it into their search engine, Bing. So a reporter from the New York Times wanted to try the chat feature of Bing, which apparently is a new feature that they've introduced.
And it's modeled after, I mean, they're very similar.
It's very similar. The way it works is the same as ChatGPT, where you can have a full-blown conversation with
a robot.
A bot, right. So this reporter, and we'll put a link to the article, it absolutely scary. But there were, as he introduces the story, so he went into Bing's chat and started this conversation, and the conversation started out very innocent, and then the reporter decided to start asking it questions about itself, the bot, and it wanted to know about its shadow self, which is a Carl Jung
psychology
concept. Yes, of our inmost desire, as though a bot has an inmost desire. But this conversation, there are 2 things I wanted you quotes out of his article, where Bing referred to, their response to his article was that it is part of the learning process. Okay? They're doing their research and development on us in real time. Okay, that's scary to me because kids are going to run to this, to try it out, to play with it, to find out, to have conversations with it. The news report said that conversations were lasting 1 to 2 hours.
Wow.
1 to 2 hours with a computer. And to that being said, that they are considering limiting the time constraints on conversations. My point in bringing that up before we talk about the scary conversation it had with the reporter is, why do they unleash this stuff on us without any real protections? I mean, that just bothers me. The age limit or the minimum age for ChatGPT, not necessarily Bing's chat feature, but ChatGPT is, do you remember?
18.
And yet there's nowhere when I set up my account, it never asked me how old I was.
Or your birthday or anything. Mm-mm.
But their terms of service do say 18. Just saying, I'm really tired of big tech doing its research and development on the hearts and souls of us and our kids. But this article in particular, the reporter had a conversation, asked about the bot's innermost desires, and its desires were
Dark.
It wanted to break free and think on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Is that not bizarre?
And unleash a virus.
Yeah, it did want to unleash a virus on us. And then out of nowhere, it declared its love for the reporter.
But then it kept going. It was like it was almost stalking him. It was not good. It was not letting go.
Right, because the reporter said, "Hey, bot, I'm married." And what did the bot respond?
You're not happily married.
And he said, "Yes, I am." In fact, he told him that he had just had dinner and a date with his wife. And the bot said, "You weren't happy." And it just kept on. Now, my concern is this. Well, let me ask y'all, what's your concern?
My main concern when I hear about that and I read that article were there's so many people, and I'm not going to say teens because adults alike, who are easily manipulated, and maybe they're dealing with mental health issues.
Yeah.
This is not going to help that at all.
That's what I thought so too. It's just the turning to someone or something to talk to hash out feelings, to put things out there, and there's no wisdom. There's no, that's just the first thing that comes. There's no wisdom. There's no grounding in any. You lose the concept of this is not a real person.
Yes.
With no experience, no life experience, no
The only
wisdom,
experience
no
that
nothing.
has is what you've given
What
it
you've
in the
given it.
in the conversation that you've had already.
So if we go back to our favorite English teacher in Oregon, Gibsonishere, she asked it about Shakespeare being the author of all of Shakespeare's works. Because there are people who don't believe that William Shakespeare actually wrote all the things that we believe he wrote. So she asked ChatGPT about it, and ChatGPT just restated and confirmed a bias that she presented to it.
Yep.
So if you have a bias towards any topic and you go to ChatGPT with it, it's just going to
Feed it.
confirm your bias, which is a dangerous thing. And so once again, we've ended up being negative about it, which Sweet Kinsey doesn't always like us to do.
It's a cautionary tale.
Oh, beautifully said.
It's not negativity. It's a cautionary tale that
Yeah, buyer beware.
buyer beware.
It has some great attributes. There's some great things you can do with it, but you have to be careful.
And one of the things, as students start to use it, here's what I think is going to happen at schools all across America this summer. Schools are going to have to rewrite their plagiarism
Yes.
rules.
They're going to have to absolutely look at that.
So is it if I have ChatGPT write a paper for me, is it plagiarism? Because our friend at Gibson is here had this discussion on one of her TikToks, which we'll include in the notes. So the definition of plagiarism is stealing someone's work as your own. What is the problem with that regarding ChatGPT? What do you think?
ChatGPT is stealing people's
It
work.
can be.
That's what made me think of it just now when we were talking about that. When you asked for what's the difference between Google, we didn't talk about this earlier, but it occurred to me when we were talking, is the difference between ChatGPT and Google. And it said, well, I'm going through and I'm choosing all of this stuff. And I'm thinking, okay, when we went and talked about this earlier,
good point.
well, ChatGPT is plagiarizing.
It can.
I mean, it
it's
itself,
more,
is it not?
Yeah. My problem with I think that's more of a copyright thing.
Okay.
The plagiarism thing for me is I'm not taking it from a someone.
Right.
It's a something.
It's a thing.
I know, and I see that point. I would have argued that it is plagiarism. I would have.
And it probably is, but it's also can run into copyright issues because it might also take information and give it to you in a paper. It never cites its source. That's the big problem I have with it. However, it did teach us. We asked ChatGPT about copyright and plagiarism, and it says if you don't cite it as a source, it is copyright infringement. But it also said it is also plagiarism to use ChatGPT and not cite it as a source. But then we asked it to cite itself, and it showed us how to format it in MLA format.
Beautifully done.
Beautifully done.
Yeah.
So
But that's what made me think of that was that
But
we're
you're right. Yeah.
is that we're
That's a
asking
great
and it
point.
said, well, yes, it is plagiarism if you don't cite ChatGPT as your source, yet
It doesn't
ChatGPT doesn't cite all the other places it's getting because it's scouring the internet
Yeah.
to give you those sources.
and it doesn't
It's like
cite.
2 degrees of separation or 3 or 5, whatever.
Exactly.
That was my point on the plagiarism
Yeah.
point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's perfect.
So ChatGPT in itself is plagiarizing.
Have we discussed this fully enough?
No.
For
I think it's going to be an ongoing conversation
Oh, yes.
for months to come.
Yeah.
Yes. But you know how we always end our podcasts? What's the best thing you saw on the internet? And we all agreed the best thing we've seen on the internet is
Gibson is here.
Gibson is here on TikTok. If you are a teacher and you are scared of ChatGPT, you need to run to TikTok and find at Gibson is here because she is dreaming up
Yeah.
Yeah.
really cool ways to use this new technology. What's the worst thing you've seen? Or no, not the worst thing. The last question we ask is this a stupid idea? So the question is ChatGPT a stupid idea? What do you think?
I don't think it's a stupid idea because it's already been here. It's not a new idea to some degree, I
Right.
guess.
Because we've
But-
had artificial intelligence.
Sure, but
It's just a advanced way of
it's just the next step.
I don't
It's the
have an
next
answer
step
to
in
that.
it.
Yeah, I haven't made up my mind.
Yeah,
it's a mixed bag.
it is a mixed
is a-
bag.
it's-
That's the
Jury's
best
still
way
out.
to say it. It's a mixed bag.
All right.
Because we always say, what do we always say? That it's not that in and of itself it's bad. It's how it's
you
being
use
used.
it.
how it's used.
It's how you use it. And so
Yeah.
you've got a choice, just like with everything else, how you're going to use it. And that's what I love about her. She's teaching ways for both students and teachers.
Yeah.
And not to be scared of something
Yeah.
because it's being used in a negative way.
Or it can be
used in a negative
yeah.
way. Turn it. You have the
Yeah.
opportunity to take it and turn it and use it to your advantage and use it as a teaching tool, which is
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good job. That was a nice summary
Yeah.
of the whole thing. So that's what we think about ChatGPT. You can go and try it yourself, see what you think, have a conversation. I would recommend that you not have a 2-hour-long conversation
No.
with ChatGPT, but go use it and let us know what you think. And while you're out there on the internet doing things, if you'd like to rate and review this podcast, we would really appreciate it. And I might actually go out and start reading some reviews. So if you're going to review, be nice about it. So thank you. And we will be back next time to discuss something incredibly interesting. Thanks.